Good afternoon. It's Thursday, February 18th, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. Reports of an alleged Israeli strike on Syrian military and Hezbollah posts near Damascus were quickly denied today by Syrian military sources as well as Hezbollah. The British-based Syrian Observation for Human Rights said 3 Israeli missiles hit army posts south of Damascus near the road leading to Dara yesterday. The report said it was unclear if any members of Hezbollah were inside the location that was struck. There were also reports of a secondary explosion at a site indicating explosives of weapon stockpiles had been hit. There were no reports of any casualties. Israel did not comment on the information. Just last week, Syrian media alleged Israeli Air Force jets bombed a Syrian army missile base and a Hezbollah position on the Syrian-Lebanese border. Russia's defense ministry is denying reports that it was set to deliver the S-300 air defense missile system to Iran today, stressing the Islamic Republic has not yet paid for the system. The latest comments come one day after Russian and Iranian media announced the first S-300 air defense system was on its way to Astrakhan, where it would be received in a ceremony attended by the Iranian defense minister. Meanwhile, other media reports said Moscow plans to sell Tehran state-of-the-art weapons to the tune of $8 billion, boosting defense cooperation between the two countries. Iran's shopping list includes Sukhoi fighter jets, surface-to-air missiles, warships, diesel submarines, gunships, T-90 tanks, and coastal defense systems. In southeast Turkey, a bomb exploded near a Turkish military convoy today. No fatalities were reported. Meanwhile, Turkey has vowed to retaliate after a powerful car bomb exploded near a bus full of soldiers in Ankara last night, killing at least 28 people and injuring dozens more. Officials said it appears a Syrian national of Kurdish origin affiliated with the YPG was involved in the bombing after fingerprints lifted from the scene were identified. The Kurds have denied the accusations. Prime Minister's office, Parliament building, and military headquarters are located close to the site where the attack occurred. There was no claim of responsibility for the bombing, but President Recep Tayyip Erdogan vowed his country would respond. In a separate development last night in Stockholm, Sweden, an explosion severely damaged parts of a building that housed a Turkish cultural center. There were no reports of any casualties. Police said the building was locked at the time and no arrests were made. Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Gadi Eisenkot said he does not want to see a soldier emptying a gun magazine on a young girl with scissors. But he stressed he opposed easing up on Army's rules of engagement. The IDF does not need to get swept up in this cliché of statements like kill or be killed, he said, emphasizing that the tools at the soldiers' disposal are adequate. The Chief of Staff made the comments during a meeting with high school students in the Bat Yam area yesterday. He noted that the aim of the terrorism is to sow fear among the public and succeeds if it prevents citizens from living their normal routine. While Hezbollah is Israel's most formidable enemy, Eisenkot noted that over the past 10 years, Israel's northern border with Lebanon has been the quietest frontier. Jerusalem has welcomed Britain's decision to ban local authorities from boycotting Israeli products. A member of the British cabinet, Matthew Hancock, arrived in the country today to present his Israeli counterparts with details of the new regulations, which include financial penalties to public bodies that won't abide by the new rules. Hancock, who is also heading a trade delegation to the country, said the decision was made because the practice of boycott undermines good community relations as well as Britain's international security. Such acts, he added, poison and polarize debate, weaken integration, and fuel anti-Semitism. Prime Minister Netanyahu hailed the British decision as a significant boost for his government's efforts to battle the growing BDS campaign against Israel.
I want to commend the British government for refusing to discriminate against Israel and Israelis, and I commend you for standing up to the one and only true democracy in the Middle East.
Well, joining me now in the studio to shed some light on the top news stories of the week is Amotz Sa'el, a senior columnist for the Jerusalem Post and the Dow Jones Market Watch. Amotz, this week we saw the former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert go to prison. It was a sad day for him, but was it a good day for democracy in Israel?
Well, first of all, we're less unique in this than people assume. Basically, corruption at these levels has happened in the United States with, say, Spiro Agnew. It happened with Jacques Chirac. It happened with Silvio Berlusconi. We're less unique in this than some people here assume. Having said this, we should also bear in mind that the temptations that some of these politicians surrender to are such that most people are not exposed to. You only get tested this way once you reach a position of power, as Olmert has, for instance, as mayor of Jerusalem and then as a minister in the government. And as he himself noted, and should be noted, none of what he has been accused or indicted of has had to do with his premiership. Having said all this, I think that this is part of a political maturation process. I think that future politicians here, and present ones, understand better now what is at stake and will be much more cautious before they are tempted to do anything of the sort that he did.
Well, the Prime Minister Netanyahu is facing a lot of pressure of his idea to open a casino, and the Minister of Tourism has said it will boost Eilat's economy and provide jobs for many people. How do you think that's going to play out?
I think that the political dynamics are such that there is no chance that such a measure or reform will be introduced here. Netanyahu's key coalition partners, the pillars of his political structure, namely the ultra-Orthodox, both the Sephardi wing and the Ashkenazi wing, and the modern Orthodox wing, all of them vehemently and unequivocally oppose this on very solid moral grounds and religious grounds. And you can add to that also serious people in labor, which is currently in opposition, but if you really want to pass such a thing, you may want to consider the mainstream secular Israeli left, perhaps as a potential supporter. They too are opposing this, perhaps more opportunistically, but nevertheless, that opposition carries weight. So I don't see this passing in a society such as Israel's, where gambling is connoted, Judaically speaking, with a weakness at best and crime at worst.
Well, this is the first time that Netanyahu wanted to form a casino. In the 1990s, he tried as well, and he was thwarted. So why do you think he was pushing for it again?
I think there are objective circumstances that he takes into consideration. In this particular case, Eilat's economy, which is struggling and needs a boost and can indeed, financially speaking, make money this way. I mean, everyone understands how a decent economy can be fueled by gambling the way Nevada's is. But that does not mean it is applicable in Israel when you take all the variables into the equation.
Let's move on to the British decision to ban boycotts. And do you think that something like that will snowball in Europe and other countries would follow suit?
I think Germany will be next. And after Germany, France and Italy are very likely to also follow suit. And I think that it makes sense from a European viewpoint, because they now understand that efforts like BDS are actually not what they would like you to think they are. They're not about Israel, and they're not a specific Israeli policy as they present their cause. Everyone understands that they're fueled by Islamism and that they serve anti-Semitism, and this is bad for European life, particularly in the light of the problems that they've come to face.
Well, what more can Israel do to fight this BDS?
I think that shedding light on the parts of this effort that are so obviously hypocritical is what Israel or its supporters should do. A separate discussion is whether this can or should be done directly and officially by Israel, or if the cause is better served by Israel's supporters who do not fight this kind of cause as official Israeli representatives, like diplomats. They are, first of all, suspect, and secondly, diplomats are almost always uncharismatic people, almost by the definition of the job. And this particular effort takes charisma.
Let's look at Turkey. We had this horrific bombing in the heart of Ankara last night, killed 28 people next to the parliament, next to the military headquarters. What's the significance of this?
I think the significance is huge. Turkey is facing a vicious war of terror. Who is at fault is a Turkish discussion, not ours, to discuss. There is a debate within Turkey concerning whether the current Kurdish violence was or was not triggered by Erdogan's policies towards them last year. But that's not the rest of the world's discussion. What matters is that Turkey right now feels extremely vulnerable and insecure, and what is happening on its border and beyond it in Syria is for Turkey extremely alarming, because it means from their viewpoint that Russia, which is their historic enemy with which they had in recent centuries 12 wars, that Russia is actually setting foot on Turkey's southeastern border and turning Syria into a Russian protectorate. This, from Turkey's viewpoint, is intolerable, and I think that the Turkish invasion of Syria is already underway, and it, in the wake of these kinds of events, might only escalate.
The Turkish invasion of Syria is underway.
Invasion does not mean like D-Day. Invasion means, for instance, what they're doing right now, which is already happening, namely that they're setting up, with Turkish investment and management, tent camps for refugees on the Syrian side of their border. That's an invasion, that's an occupation, that's a violation of Syrian sovereignty. That's how it starts. Same goes for their artillery salvos into Syrian territory that began last week and also were previously unthinkable. These are the beginnings of an encroaching invasion. It's not like they will come with full force all the way to Damascus, but they will keep encroaching on Syrian sovereignty, and this situation, which is already bad from the viewpoint of international stability, will only become worse in upcoming months.
Motza Sahel, always a pleasure to have your insight. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Ari.
In more local news, police in Kiryat Shmona are continuing their investigation into the corruption charges by the leading officials in the municipality. Kiryat Shmona Mayor Nassim Malka was questioned under caution of suspicion of accepting bribes and obstructing of justice. He allegedly accepted bribes and illegal donations during the northern city's 2013 election campaign in exchange for promoting the interests of local business owners. The mayor has been released to 5-day house arrest and is banned from entering City Hall for the next 2 weeks. More than 40 other municipality officials have also been questioned in connection to the case. Denmark plans to award Jewish Israeli security guard Dan Uzan, who was shot dead by terrorists in a shooting attack outside a Copenhagen synagogue last year, the Medal of Civil Valor. Uzan blocked the terrorists from entering the synagogue, preventing an attack on children celebrating a bat mitzvah inside. A Danish film director who was murdered in a separate shooting attack at a cultural center in the capital hours earlier will also receive the medal posthumously. A statement issued by the Danish parliament said that they award the medal to citizens who demonstrate unusual courage while risking their lives. To mark a year since the attacks, events were held across Denmark, including a basketball game with Uzan's group and a march from the Jewish Cultural Center to the synagogue. News of a breakthrough cancer treatment that is based on Israeli research is continuing to create waves worldwide. American scientists announced extraordinary results in early trials of the new T-cell therapy that has so far eliminated symptoms of 94% of the terminally ill leukemia patients that took part in the study. Some 80% of the patients suffering from other forms of blood cancer also reacted positively to the treatment, with over half of them seeing their symptoms completely vanish. The gene editing cell treatment is designed to work by adding new genes to healthy donated immune cells known as T cells, which arm them against leukemia. Research for the innovative treatment originated in Israel years ago by an Israeli professor, Zelig Eshia, of the Weizmann Institute. A new high-tech initiative is being launched in the Galilee to cultivate local startups and may even turn the Jezreel Valley into the next Israeli Silicon Valley. We get more in this report.
Amidst the lush fields of the Jezreel Valley, a new greenhouse was opened this week, a greenhouse for local high-tech startups. At a time when the Treasury is issuing a report that claims that Israeli startups are no longer the main locomotive for Israeli economic growth, this greenhouse was opened in Ramat Yishai. It's called the Open Valley. It provides office space for entrepreneurs and startups in the Galilee as an alternative to spending hours in traffic traveling to and from the Tel Aviv metropolitan area. The hothouse has local legal experts, accountants and others with experience, all under one roof, and offers a place for people to rent offices or even desks to work at, starting at about 1,000 shekels a month. The project aims to bring the high-tech to the periphery and could turn the Jezreel Valley into the next Israeli Silicon Valley. Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
Whoever said losing at the Academy Awards was not worthwhile? 26 nominees of top categories, including the ceremony's host, Chris Rock, are slated to receive a so-called compensation gift bag, which among other goodies includes no less than a fully paid 10-day first-class trip to Israel for two. The vacation treat was the idea of an ultra-Orthodox pair of tour operators from Brooklyn who received backing from the Israeli Tourism Ministry. With the exception of the flights, the ministry will pay for all the land arrangements, including hotels, transportation, guides, and activities for the VIP, travelers, and their mates. The entire trip is valued at $55,000 and is considered the most expensive party favor. The goodie bag has been in the headlines in recent days due to a federal lawsuit by the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences against the company promoting the bags as official Oscars swag. The Academy wants the public to know that it hasn't approved any of the pricey $200,000 items, which among others includes a laser skin tightening procedure, unlimited Audi car rentals, and a lifetime supply of creams. Turning to the weather, and while you may have forgotten it's still February, the unseasonably warm temperatures outside brought many beachgoers out to the shores of Tel Aviv. Sunbathers wasted no time, pulled out those swimsuits, towels, and matkot as they gathered to take a mixed dip in the sun and water. The spring-like weather is expected to continue throughout the day tomorrow and will begin to fade away on Saturday when the temperatures are slated to go down. Here's a look at the highs and the lows for the next 24 hours, at home and abroad. Stock talk now, and share prices on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange were mixed today, and the shekel was also mixed in trading against major foreign currencies. Let's take a look at the late afternoon numbers. Well, that brings us to the end of this broadcast. I'm Mario O'Sullivan, and I'll be back on Sunday for another daily edition of IBA News. We leave you with shots of Israelis on the warm beaches of Tel Aviv as the country enjoys a few days of sunshine before winter comes back next week.